Hello everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez of themoviewizard.com, and let's talk about Pacific Rim 2, aka whether or not the movie is actually going to get made. There have been contradictory reports for several months now whether or not Pacific Rim 2 will actually happen. While the movie did make $411 million worldwide, it underperformed in the United States, and it had a massive $190 million budget. However, in China, the movie did much better, much like many other recent flops in America, like Terminator Genisys and, I guess Tomorrowland. However, a few months ago, Legendary Pictures put plans to film the sequel on hold indefinitely. Now, according to an article from Crossmap, which is a Christian news website of all things, Pacific Rim 2 is having a hard time getting greenlit. They have the script finished and they have the budget finished, but no green light. There are even plans to have a crossover of Pacific Rim and Godzilla in Pacific Rim 3. But again, they're having a hard time getting 2 greenlit, so 3 is still just a pipe dream at this moment. A quote from the article says, "Sources say Legendary liked that the original performed exceptionally well in China, where the company is heavily invested. But for now, the project, which had been ramping up to make a release date in August 2017, has been halted indefinitely and will be pushed back if it gets made at all." Now, I'll post my print review of Pacific Rim the film in the comments section below, but to save people who don't like reading a little bit of time, basically, I liked the movie. I thought it was good. Lowercase g, period at the end, good. It wasn't exceptional in any ways. In fact, if the movie hadn't been directed by Guillermo del Toro, with such style and visual finesse, if you will, I don't think the movie would have been nearly as entertaining as it was. As it stands, it was 3 stars. I liked it. Do I want to see a sequel? Well, I'm open to a sequel if it's going to be better than the first one, and I can certainly see them improving on this. But based on the merits of the first one alone, no, I could live without seeing a sequel. And I sense that's how a lot of people feel about it. Not everyone, mind you, but a lot of people. So here's the million-dollar question. Will Pacific Rim 2 get made? Personal theory, folks, I think it's worth giving up on this one. There are a few major factors on why I say this. First of all, the first movie was incredibly high budgeted at $190 million. It only made like $100 million in America, so it didn't make its money back domestically. It did make $411 million worldwide, however, the box office take for the studios is less for the international market, so even though it's doing better over there, they're taking home less of that for themselves. Also, another factor that could play into this is Crimson Peak, which, for the record, I think that's a much better movie Del Toro has directed, and even though there's no room for a sequel there, I mean, that's Del Toro doing what he's doing really good. Pacific Rim is just him playing with action figures, in my opinion, while Crimson Peak and Pan's Labyrinth and Hellboy, those are art. However, despite all the acclaim for Crimson Peak, it's only made a little over $90 million on an $80 million budget worldwide. And the thing about Hollywood is what keeps your career going is money. Del Toro, for all of his talent as a filmmaker, has not directed a hit film in several years. In fact, it may even well be more than 10 years since he's directed a movie that can be considered legitimately successful. And yeah, we'll give him a little bit of slack because he was supposed to direct the Hobbit movies for a long time before Peter Jackson eventually came back on board with those. But the bottom line is he still hasn't made a hit movie in a long time. I think the only reason he's still getting these big budget movies is because most of what he makes, whether or not they made money, were still really good, and the studios are hoping that eventually that will translate into a financially successful film. The problem is Pacific Rim was far from successful. In fact, there's every reason to believe it will do less business if there is a sequel. So, combined with the potentially high budget and the fact that Del Toro made 2 flop movies that cost studios millions of dollars, the only way I could see Pacific Rim 2 happening is if Del Toro's next movie, which I think is a Haunted Mansion reboot for Disney, unless that is really successful, whatever his next movie is, I think Pacific Rim 2 is dead in the water. But what do you guys think? Do you want to see Pacific Rim 2? I'd like to know. Comment below and share, favorite, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.